to break down a whole host of issues today. But first off, Obama's supposed to get authorization from Congress for military strikes. Obviously, if nuclear missiles get launched or something, he's allowed to respond. There's an imminent threat. Well, they're saying that ISIS is an imminent threat, but the West funded it, created it, and now says they're going to give the non-radical arm of it more money while bombing inside Syria without their authorization, the very rebel group they helped fund. So as a former prosecutor, I thought I'd get his take on that, on Obama's other executive actions. And I know that when we talked about getting Lionel on a week ago, he wanted to talk about SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, other psychotropics. Turns out that the White House fence jumper was on these, prescribed by the U.S. military and the VA. So very, very interesting on that front as well. His Skype just dropped, so we're going to reconnect with him and go back to him in a moment. And then I'll do a little bit of overdrive to talk to Eric, who's been holding so long, and Terrence, and probably another Eric. There's two Erics. Or maybe we'll take some of these calls while Lionel's on. Just have a quick question, because I want to mix some calls in as well. Please don't forget that this entire broadcast is listener-supported. And when you buy the books, the videos, the high-quality Made in America T-shirts, ball caps, belt buckles that promote liberty, it all is a win-win-win. It funds the operation, helps us get the word out. You get high-quality products. A lot of the products then will wake other people up. It's very, very exciting what we can do by shopping with the good guys. We have the great InfoWarsLife.com products as well. They're all available right now at InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com. You can also subscribe to the Nightly News, see the Nightly News when it first airs or when it's live at 7 o'clock Central. You can see all my films in HD and thousands of other pieces of media, $5.95 a month. And when you get a membership, 11 people can use it simultaneously. So again, ladies and gentlemen, prisonplanet.tv to subscribe there as well. And you see we've hired more reporters. We're building our operation. We've got people covering things in the field. We've got the new studio that I'm going to be broadcasting out of more and more soon. All of this is happening thanks to your support. And it's the same thing you can do by buying organic food. Then it builds a market. Then the price goes down as more competition comes in. And pretty soon you go to the store and everything says it's organic. Because we are changing the world by our actions, by our decisions. Now, going back to Lionel, who we got on the line with us now via video Skype. Lionel, what do you want to tackle first? The president and the unitary executive, or the fence jumpers and the fear the empire has? Now talking about checkpoints, miles around the White House. I mean, it's just, are we becoming some type of weird Byzantine empire?
Are we becoming? No, we have become. Let me go right back to the first part of the show, Alex, when you were overwhelmed by the stack of information that you had. I could hear it in your voice, and I hear it every day because I never miss a show. Where do I start? Where do I begin to delve in? Where do I start? Here's a question for you. Name one story, one issue, one story, one piece of fact or data that absolutely was reported perfectly by the mainstream media. Go ahead, take all the time you want. Other than fantasy football, the Kardashians, Ray Rice, Adrian Peterson, NFL. Aside from that, name one story in your stack that the mainstream media covered, even addressed. Take all the time in the world you want. Answered none. Why is that? Why?
Because the public's so dumbed down, the media is now so dumbed down, and the world's so complex. They have articles in the stack like, we don't know what Obamacare does, and we don't know if it's working, and we don't know what's happened, and we don't know what's happening on the border, and we don't know who we're fighting or who we're funding. It does seem like the disintegration of society.
And I can hear it in your voice. You're saying, why aren't there people banging on your door saying, wait a minute, where's that source? Why aren't people slamming their brakes on their cars saying, I want to know this? Let me talk about something, if you could, and I think you've talked about it before, this notion called hydro-imperialism. Now, one of the greatest I think, gifts that we as sentient human beings and adults can give the world is to let them know something that perhaps maybe they didn't know. And you've got to know this, and I'm sure you do, that whenever the government says something, like Pilger's Law says, never believe anything until it's officially denied.
Yes.
When they say that we're going someplace for a particular reason, that's the cover. So I ask people, why do you think ISIS or ISIL or IS or FSA or Al-Nusra Fund or AQI or IQA, why are we changing the name? What do you think this is about? It's not about terrorism. In the first wave of imperialism, it was gold. There's gold in them dar hills. Africa, the British. Second wave, post-industrial, oil made sense. Then the military began to be the Luca Brasi, if you will, of the American oil and petroleum industries and the world. Third wave, rare earth metals, lithium, which, by the way, Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan is the Saudi Arabia of lithium. And then, now, here we go, water. Water. Finite, absolute. Everybody knows, kids know that the world is covered by 2/3 of it is covered by water. Well, that's salt water. Okay, if you're a fish. 2% is in ice and glaciers. 1% is available to us. That's potable, drinkable, accessible water.
It will be the future currency.
Absolutely. And Alex, it's so ingenious when you think about it. Let's go back to Muammar Gaddafi. And you said something, because I listen, Alex. I listen. Maybe I listen too much. I doubt that, but I listen. You said, isn't it funny how we change the names of things? Remember, it was Al-Qaeda, not anymore. Then ISIS, not anymore. Now ISIL. Then they go back and forth with ISIL. It sounds like characters from Yentl, ISIL, like a Jackie Mason routine. Now, Gaddafi. How many ways can you spell Gaddafi? They even did that to us. Mao Zedong, Beijing, Qatar. When Gaddafi was overthrown, right when he was all of a sudden crazy, when he's wearing the Sergeant Pepper outfits, there is the Nubian sandstone aquifer underneath, right there in Libya. Maybe, Alex, maybe, just so happens to be the largest freshwater aquifer in the world. In the world. He had spent $25 billion to take Libya, which is 95, 96% basically desert, and make it arable, make it usable. Iraq, go back to biblical times, the Fertile Crescent, Tigris and Euphrates, the Garden of Eden. This was water. This is the currency now, in addition to the aforementioned. So when we go to a country and we decide to either invade or liberate or whatever particular parlance you want to use, I'm a lawyer by profession, and you have studied the law as well. You know that when you buy property, you have air rights. There's the old ad silum doctrine.
Then you've got surface and mineral.
Correct. But when you go to a country and you seize a country, either by invitation or by liberation or whatever particular fiction you use, who owns the water below? Second question, who does the water, whom does the water belong to? Can you take water and put it on tankers like we used to use oil? You know, it gets into interesting issues, Alex. Sometimes when we go to different countries and we will invade or liberate or whatever you want to call it, we find antiquities. Sometimes you can't return to the Babylonians that which was the Babylonians. Water's a different story. So if we go to Iraq or Iran or Syria or wherever, and by the way, let me remind you that why Israel, in its existential fight, something we have not really realized yet, if the Golan Heights were to be either reassumed or taken back, or whatever particular parlance you want to use, by Syria, that's 40% of Israel's drinking water. Water is the currency of life. You can't get off of the water standard like we did the gold standard. There's no stopgap measures. It's not subject to speculation. You don't hold back on water. It is who we are. And Alex, hydro-imperialism is yet another subtext, another stratum, another layer to this labyrinth, this calculus that we in the world are involved in. So add that to your stack, and add that to your worries.
Well, and obviously you were alluding to the Great Lakes, where I was reading years ago, and I was in a documentary with Jesse Ventura about it, dealing with the fact that every month hundreds of super tankers come in from China and Japan and load up in the Great Lakes and just leave, and they basically have a UN treaty to just take our water, and now the Great Lakes are going down. The globalists have set the precedent where they just take the water if they want it.
And what's also interesting, Alex, is when you tell somebody this, when you tell somebody and you freak them out, let me tell you the group of people that you're going to meet. First of all, there's a group who say, that's a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory, as we've talked about a million times, means something I don't want to hear, something nefarious.